Do you know that feeling? That tightness in your chest when someone asks, "So, what's the plan?" At a family dinner, a job interview, or over coffee with an old friend. The world seems to stop for a second, waiting for your answer. And not just any answer. It wants a confident, well-rehearsed story about your future. A 5-year plan, a 10-year vision. It wants to see your map, so you give it to them. You talk about the promotion, the move to a new city, the house, the relationship goals. You lay out a neat linear path from A to B to C, as if life were a straight line, drawn with a ruler, and as you speak, you almost convince yourself. But later, when you're alone, maybe staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m, the weight of that performance comes crashing down. It's exhausting, isn't it? This constant act of pretending you have a map for a country you've never visited. We all carry this weight. We spend so much energy building and defending this imaginary future. We create a detailed blueprint in our minds, specifying every room, every piece of furniture, every colour on the walls of the life we are supposed to have. We believe this blueprint is a sign of strength, of control. Society tells us that successful people have plans, that responsible adults know where they're going. But from the perspective of how reality actually works, this is one of the most profound misunderstandings we live by. A detailed plan is often the most fragile thing you can possess. Think about it. It's built on a single, flawed assumption that tomorrow is just a slightly modified version of today. It assumes the ground beneath your feet is solid and unchanging. But it's not. Reality is not a static stage for you to act out your pre-written script. It's a living, breathing, creative force. It's constantly generating novelty, surprise, and new possibilities. It's like trying to build a perfectly rigid bridge over a river whose course changes every single morning. Your beautiful, logical, well-engineered bridge will lead to nowhere. Clinging to the blueprint of that bridge becomes the very thing that prevents you from seeing where the river is actually flowing today. And here is where we find the central paradox of control. We are taught that having a plan means we are in charge. It gives us a sense of security, a feeling that we are steering the ship. But in truth, gripping the wheel with all your might while staring at an old map makes you completely blind to the actual ocean. You don't feel the shift in the current. You don't see the unexpected island appearing on the horizon. You don't notice the new wind that could carry you to a place more beautiful than you ever imagined. The act of clinging to the plan makes you lose your connection to the living, breathing world that is trying to guide you. It's a strange form of self-sabotage, born from fear. We are so afraid of the unknown that we choose the comfort of a predictable story, even if that story is a cage. We become employees of our own 5-year plans, dutifully checking boxes and following steps, and we slowly forget how to simply be present. We filter our entire experience through one question. Does this fit my plan? If it does, we accept it. If it doesn't, we dismiss it as a distraction, a problem, a detour. But what if those detours are not detours at all? What if they are the path itself, trying to reveal itself to you? Imagine you're walking through a forest, your eyes glued to a map. You're so focused on the thin red line on the paper that you don't notice the deer watching you from between the trees. You don't hear the sound of a hidden waterfall. just a few steps off the marked trail, you missed a patch of sunlight where the most delicious wild berries are growing. You are successfully following the map, but you are completely missing the forest. The architecture of reality is not a fixed grid. It's a dynamic web of connections, of flowing energy, of constant communication, coincidences, gut feelings, chance encounters, sudden curiosities. These aren't random noise. They are the threads of this web, reaching out to you. They are reality's way of whispering, "Hey, look over here. There's something you need to see." But you can't hear the whisper if you're shouting your own plans at the universe. The transformation we're all going through is a shift away from this rigid, fear-based way of living. It's an invitation to put down the heavy, outdated map. It's not about becoming passive or lazy. It's about becoming incredibly active in a different way. It's about learning to navigate by listening, by feeling, by paying attention to the world as it is, not as you demand it to be. The courage we need now is not the courage to blindly follow a plan into a future that doesn't exist. It's the quiet, profound courage to stand in the present moment and admit to yourself, first and foremost, that you truly don't know where you're going. Because in that admission, in that beautiful, terrifying, honest space of, I don't know, something new can finally be born. You stop forcing reality into your tiny box and you allow its vast intelligence to finally start a conversation with you. You stop performing for an invisible audience and start living for the only moment that has ever existed. This one. The weight of that imagined future, the one you've been carrying for so long, finally begins to dissolve. It was never real to begin with. It was just a story. And now you are free to let a new, more truthful story begin to write itself, one present moment at a time. This is not about losing control. It's about finally understanding what real control is. It's not about forcing the river. It's about learning how to flow with it. By the way, time, 0.8. Our shared space of light and awareness is on its way to 100,000 people. Thank you to everyone who subscribes and brings this moment closer. So what happens when you finally put the map down? What happens in that moment of surrender? It's not a moment of failure. It's not emptiness. It's a moment of profound activation. Admitting, I don't know, is one of the most powerful things you can say to the universe. For years, you've been talking. You've been telling the world what you want, what you expect, where you're going. You've been broadcasting a single, unchanging signal from your mind. And all that time, the world has been trying to talk back to you, but it couldn't get a word in. Your signal was too loud. Saying, I don't know, is like hanging up the phone after a long monologue. It's an act of deep listening. You are finally telling the fabric of reality. Okay, I'm quiet now. What did you want to show me? And reality, which is infinitely patient, begins to respond. This is where the mechanics of transformation become incredibly practical. When you stop staring at an imaginary finish line 5 years in the future, your attention naturally returns to the only place it can actually be, right here, right now. Your field of vision widens. You start to notice things that were always present, but were previously invisible to you because they weren't on your map. It's the strange book that falls off a shelf in a store, the one you feel an inexplicable urge to pick up. It's the overheard conversation on the bus that sparks an idea you would have otherwise dismissed. It's the coincidental phone call from a person you haven't spoken to in a decade, who just happens to need a skill you secretly love, but never thought was marketable. These are not random accidents, they are signals. They are the path finding you. Before, your mind's filter was set to, does this help me get to point C on my map? Everything that didn't fit that narrow criteria was deleted before it even reached your conscious awareness. Now your filter is gone. You are operating with an open curiosity. Your new question becomes, what is this? What is here right now? This shift is everything. You stop trying to force open locked doors at the end of a long, imaginary hallway, and you start noticing the door that is standing wide open right next to you. The world is constantly presenting us with open doors. We're just usually too busy consulting our blueprints to see them. Think about how this works in a simple conversation. If you go into it with a rigid agenda, knowing exactly what you want to say and what you want to get out of it, you don't really listen to the other person. You're just waiting for your turn to speak. You miss the nuance in their voice, the emotion in their eyes, the true meaning behind their words. But if you go in with an open heart, with a genuine, I don't know where this conversation will lead, you create a space for real connection. A space for something new and unexpected to be created between you. Navigating your life is the same. It's a conversation with reality. Clinging to a plan is refusing to listen. Letting go is choosing to engage in the dialogue. And this brings us to the true nature of courage. We used to think courage was having a perfect plan and the grit to stick to it, no matter what. That's the courage of a soldier marching into a predictable battle. But life is not a predictable battle. It is an undiscovered country. The courage needed for this journey is different. It's the courage to walk with a small lantern that only illuminates the next 3 feet in front of you. You can't see the destination. You can't even see around the next bend. All you have is enough light for the next step. At first, this feels terrifying. Our minds, trained for certainty, scream for more light, for the big picture, for the guarantee that the path leads somewhere safe. But as you take one step and then another, you begin to build a new kind of trust. Not a trust in a plan, but a trust in the process itself. You learn that the light for the next step is always enough. You start to realize that trying to see the whole path at once was the source of all your anxiety. It was an impossible demand that kept you frozen. The lantern, with its gentle, limited light, sets you free. It invites you to be fully present with the step you are taking right now, because that is all you can see. And you find a deep peace in that. The peace of knowing that this step right here is the only one that matters. This is how you learn to walk in sync with the world. You trust the pull of your curiosity. You trust the hint from a stranger. You trust the feeling in your gut. Each step you take in this state of trust illuminates the next. The path doesn't exist out there, waiting for you to find it. The path is created by your walking. You are not following a map, you are the map maker. And every choice made from this place of open, trusting awareness draws a new, more authentic line on the map of your life. The wait is gone, the performance is over. You're no longer trying to get somewhere. You are simply, beautifully, here. And from here, you can go anywhere. If this video changed something in you, write in the comments, "My path is revealing itself." Write it as your promise. Nobody